President Bush, and also former Maryland senatorial candidate in his own right. David Mark is the editor-in-chief of Politics, former senior editor at Politico. And, gentlemen, welcome back to the program. David, let me ask you a question. You don't think there's any tone deafness here? Come on.
No, he's the president of the United States. He's never off the job.
Eat
he's
cake.
always getting national security briefings.
Eat cake. Let him eat cake.
No, he doesn't pay for a lot of this stuff. The government is not paying for all this stuff. Much of it does come out.
Who's paying for
Much of it does come out of pocket. And anyway, it's security.
No. Who's paying for a trip to go play golf with? By the way, I would love to play golf with Tiger Woods.
Well, get yourself elected president of the United States, and maybe you'll get an invitation to do so.
No, I tend to doubt it, but I'm happy for Tiger, by the way. I'm glad he's back. I hope this is a redemption story. I hope he stays on the straight and narrow, and I hope Lindsey Vonn is keeping a close eye on him. But putting all that aside, I just think at this point in time, there's 20 million more Americans on food stamps, 14 million Americans on disability, 1 in 6 Americans in poverty. People have lost their entire incomes. Their biggest investment, their homes. There's a slight recovery in the housing market, but everybody's suffering. Everybody I know is really at challenging economic times, and he seems tone deaf. Dan Bongino.
Sean, David is completely off on this. Do you really think it's that difficult to be president? I worked there in the White House. Listen, there are very profound decisions. There are leadership skills that are required, of course. I was there. I saw it. Cry me a river, please. His meals are made. His haircuts are made or are performed right there in front of him. The doctor's downstairs. David, how hard do you think this is? I mean, this is the new Thurston Howell class of politics. And what Sean's question was not the appropriateness of children taking a vacation. I don't think anybody's disputing that. What we're arguing is the tone deafness of a president who, and I quote here, is supposedly in it for the little guy. Give me a break. You have minority unemployment up close to 40% in some areas of the country. And, we're out bouncing around the world playing golf with Tiger Woods and in expensive resorts. I mean, come on. Where's the leadership there? Are you the president or are you just the president of some?
And what's he supposed to do? Sit in the White House bunker 365
days?
He has a resort. That also would cost money, by the way, for protection, for staff, et cetera. It's expensive no matter where he goes. It's not that much more expensive than travel.
All right, let's go to another standard here, all right? Just like Obama was going to cut the deficit in half in his first term, not. Just like he was going to create millions of jobs, didn't happen. Let's go to Obama and his thoughts on vacation. Here's what he said.
Essentially, the bargain that any president, I think, strikes with the American people is you give me this office, and in turn, my fears, doubts, insecurities, foibles, need for sleep, family life, vacations, leisure is gone. I mean, I am giving myself to you, and the American people should have no patience for whatever's going through your head because you've got a job to do.
Vacations.
And so how I think about it is that you don't make that decision unless you are prepared to make that sacrifice, that trade-off.
He had a very different view back in 2006, Dan Bongino. Very surprising.
He seemed to get a lot of sleep the night of the Benghazi incident. And someone said, that's cross. No, it's true. I mean, they admitted themselves. He went to sleep that night. So I think this is all garbage. I mean, how many golf outings are you going to go to? Hey, listen, I was no fan of a lot of President Bush's spending policies and a lot of his foreign policies for that matter. But there was one thing he did that I respected when I was working there in the White House. He would not golf while our soldiers were out there at war because he thought it was some bad messaging. Well, how about giving up the driver for a couple of years while unemployment in this country is approaching catastrophic levels? Again, you want to lead, or are you just going to be a political celebrity? It's time to step up, folks, and stop giving this man a pass.
Actually, Dan, I'm glad you bring up President George W. Bush because he spent all that time at the ranch in Crawford, Texas. He was all over the place.
Hang on. Whoa, stop for a second. He did go to Crawford, Texas, his house, and he did go, but he didn't play golf, especially after the Iraq War started. So for the rest of his presidency, he didn't play golf once, which he enjoys doing. Now, hang on a second. That's That's different than Michelle and Barack taking different planes to go to Martha's Vineyard every year. They can't coordinate their schedules. That's different from them taking separate vacations, one in Aspen, one with Tiger Woods. That's very different than, at a time when Americans are suffering, the girls are out on vacation and spring break. And, of course, that's costing a lot of money. And I think there's
a good mother. Michelle Obama's with her kids, and if they were not with their kids, he would be getting on them.
And what about France and Broadway shows? No, I wouldn't be getting on them for family values. But you know what? A lot of kids can't go to spring break because they can't afford it.
So what? They can't afford it.
Well, but it's not a matter that they can afford it. We have to pay for it. What part of that are you not getting?
We have to pay for any president who's on the road, Republican, Democrat.
But you're missing the whole point. Is that their lifestyle is over the top and it's extravagance. Add to that the concerts, the parties, the basketball, the golf outings, and his own statement, and I would say Obama's not living up to his own credo here.
I've seen no evidence that President Obama has gone out any more than his predecessors, President Bush's, either one. Ronald Reagan was at his ranch in Santa Barbara every other weekend when he was president.
At their own house, for crying out loud. It's not the same thing as going to Martha's Vineyard and hanging all over the place, which is costing a lot of money. Look, if you don't see the difference, I can't help you, but I'm telling you at a time where all these costs, $585,000 one night in a Paris hotel, nearly $500,000 a night in a London hotel, $321,000 paid for limo services just while in Paris for the vice president. And we can't open the White House to little kids from around the country that want a tour of their White House. It's their house,
One has nothing to do with
One has a lot to do with the other.
Costs in London, Paris, Biden is over there meeting with foreign leaders.
Oh, yeah, very important. Our relationship. Listen, I will get them a subscription to go to meeting with HD faces for free, because they might discover that there's a new way to do business. You can look somebody right in the eye over the internet, and you know what? The quality of video is outstanding, Dan Bongino.
Right, and Sean, David keeps diverting. I'm not defending President Bush's choice to take vacations in Waco or not. That's not what I said. As a matter of fact, I just told you I had a number of disagreements. What I said was, if you are a leader, messaging matters. I was strictly talking about the golf and the messaging. The messaging here is terrible. You can defend all you. What's changed for you now that the vice president has gone to Paris? What's changed? Was there some international treaty signed? The $500,000 hotel bill? You don't think the messaging there is indicative of really poor leadership? It's time for this administration to man up. They're so convenient when it comes to blaming Bush and blaming this guy. I have enough blame to throw around myself. That's not what being a leader is about. I am talking about the messaging. I'm not talking about the president's right to take a vacation, or any other president for that matter. The man does not lead. He will not lead. And it's time for us, frankly, to hold him to a higher standard than he's held himself.
And the messaging for Biden was probably better than when Vice President Dick Cheney was out duck hunting. And you know what? And shot a guy. And you know what? I don't begrudge him having that time off.
Wasn't that nice? You just take a cheap shot at Dick Cheney. The thing is, you're just not getting here. You're not understanding. We weren't living in such dire economic circumstances as we are now. And, now his fifth year on the job and things in terms of recovery, I suggest you read Morton Zuckerman's piece in the Wall Street Journal about how dire things really are. I suggest you look at the deficit. Remember, he said that Bush was unpatriotic and irresponsible when the debt was at $9 trillion. Now it's headed to $17 trillion. So, with all the economic turmoil in the country, if you don't see a problem with this imaging and just the look of this,
and you would recommend having him stay in the White House residence?
I would recommend a little bit. I would recommend the shared sacrifice, skin in the game. I'm looking at all the terms he uses, fair share that he always lectures everybody about. Because you know what? He doesn't have any problems traveling all over the world on our dime.
It's called his job, and you know what? He was
It's his job to play golf with Tiger Woods. It's his job to play golf with Tiger Woods. It's his job to play golf with Tiger Woods.
It's his job to be on 24 hours a day.
I'm asking, is it his job to pay $180,000 an hour in Air Force One to go play golf with Tiger Woods?
He also ordered the Bin Laden raid after me at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Listen, he did. Thanks to George Bush, he was able to get the intelligence to get Bin Laden. You're right.
But he did get get him.
Thanks to George Bush, yeah.
No, thanks to Barack Obama.
No, thanks to enhanced interrogation, which he himself opposed. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Bin Laden raid, that's after they yanked him off the golf course. And no one's saying, hey, it was a bad call. Everybody agrees it was a good call. Great. Congrats. Again, that's not what we're talking about. The president has totally failed to lead. This guy he is blamed. Let's go through the litany of stuff. ATMs, hurricanes, tornadoes, a nuclear incident in Japan. I mean, this man has no concept of productivity in an economy, increasing output from the same input. He goes out there, he embarrasses himself constantly. The media covers for him. No one is talking about the guy's right to take a vacation for the umpteenth time on this phone call. We're saying leadership involves messaging, involves public imagery, how you choose to project yourself. All he projects to the public is Bush's fault, it's the ATM's fault, it's a tornado, the hurricane, there was a thunderstorm last night. And then he goes out and hits the 9-iron with Tiger, and everybody covers for the guy. You know what? Get to the White House, get to work, take some pictures behind your desk, and get something done and cut the garbage out.
And if he took all those pictures behind his desk, you would be on him for not being out with world leaders, just like he went to Israel. He was criticized for not doing that.
For the first time in 5 years, he went to Israel after he had snubbed Netanyahu and the Israelis numerous times. I mean, that's another dumb decision, giving $1.5 billion to the Muslim Brotherhood government of Mohammed Morsi, who refers to the Israelis as descendants of apes and pigs, and $700 million to the Palestinians, who, by the way, covered up a map while he was there that had Israel wiped out.
And you want to see what would happen if those governments fell, how much worse it would be?
The governments, he already pushed Mubarak out, and what do we have in its place? The Muslim Brotherhood that thinks the Israelis are descendants of apes and pigs. Great job, Obama.
Yeah, but that leader has not broken diplomatic ties with Israel.
Excuse me. The first thing the Muslim Brotherhood legislature did was declare Israel their number one enemy. In case you weren't following the news,
I was following it very closely and just see what would replace what action.
So you think it's a good idea to give the guy who refers to in 2010. The Israelis as descendants of apes and pigs, you'd give him F-16s, tanks, and $1.5 billion taxpayer dollars. You'd do that.
Do I think it's a good idea? Of course not, but it's the best of bad options.
I thought you said things were good. The best of bad options.
And whether they're on vacation or sitting in the White House.
Well, you've lost your mind. All right, I got to roll. Guys, thank you both. Appreciate it. 800-941-SEAN is our number. We'll get to your phone calls next.